See you later, Train Simulator Driver. Thank you very much for the video, and we'll catch up in the morning and have a chat.
Shall we play a game?
Hello, folks. Oh, the cat doesn't appear on vertical. Damn. I'll have to fix that. All right. So, what a strange voice. Must have been driving a diesel yesterday. Firing a diesel-powered steam engine anyway. I see a lot of you are actually on the vertical stream. You're absolutely welcome to stay there if you want to. And I've also got the horizontal one running. You are welcome to run whichever one you like, portrait or the horizontal one as it suits you. Today we are in Diesel Railcar Simulator, which is this thing here. Apologies for the late start because, well, I was live on Matt's channel. Well, actually, it's not Matt's channel, it's the Train Sim World channel. And that did not go to schedule, so I delayed this one a little bit. This is what we want. We want the Class 35. Now, the Class 35 is a community one. Random service. This could go well or badly. Oh, that looks all right. We've got 2 station stops. I'd like one with more station stops. Let's go back and get another random one. Trains. 35. Select a random service. 2 station stops. We'll just do this one then. Fine. Hope everybody is well. So there's a bit of thumb spitting in this game. You can press the Start Already button. So we're in Diesel Railcar Simulator. It's developed by a person, one. But there's quite a bit of community content coming out for it now. The game's about, I'm going to say about 6 years old, I think. It's a proprietary engine, a little bit like Train Sim Classic is. And it's kind of cool. All right, now let's see if we can get in here. Oh, yeah. Did my controller. I told it I'm using my controller. Start. But I'll be using controller and mouse. So we need to master key, and then we need to start it up. There it goes, and I can see we are getting game sound, so that's good. Now, handbrake off. Into forwards is probably a good idea. Come on, handbrake off. I'm sure I made a button for handbrake off, but I can't remember what it is. We'll just do it this way. Do it with the moose. I think it's all the way off. Alright, so we should see our windows open. When our windows open, it's time to go. When our window shuts, it's time to go, rather. So what I'm going to do is put the loco brake on, which I have to do with the mouse, and I should be able to release the vacuum brakes with the controller, and I'll hold that in the pump position for a moment. We should test the horn. Works good. Okay, so I'm going to be using a weird combination of Xbox controller and mouse. Well, the doors on the train are shut. Our window's still open though, so that would suggest that the guard has not blown his whistle yet, or her whistle. Who knows? Go on, 8. That sounds like a guard's whistle. Very quiet one. And our window is now shut. Time to go. Okay. So, loco brake off, and we'll start putting a little bit of power on. This game has a really interesting scoring system. Thank you for the gift subscription there, Violet. So whichever one you are on, vertical or horizontal, welcome. So hello Sly Fox, Violet, Michael Newbury, C, Bricks at Home. Who else have we got? Oh, look at that. The game's zooming in while I scroll this. Rails of Illinois, that train guy. And I think it's very amusing that the game is zooming in while I'm using my mouse wheel to scroll the streams. And on the vertical, we have Violet. We had C, but C's left the vertical. And we'll see how it goes. So the vertical one's a little bit of an experiment. I don't know if I'll dual stream each time. I think I would more likely create a new brand account for the vertical ones. I'm not sure if it's a format that will actually work for me or not. So we'll see. But whichever one's comfortable for you is the one that you should be using. Oops, always do that camera first. So both this 35 and this route, Westford, are community content, which is pretty cool. And the game, visually, it's probably about halfway between Train Sim Classic and Train Sim World from a visual perspective, so it looks kind of nice. It's a very good simulator. If I pop back to this camera, and let's get round the sunny side, as we go through points and things, just watch the suspension, if it's going to do it. It's not bumpy enough, I think. Let's see if any of the carriages do it. Of course, when I pop out to say watch the suspension, does anything actually show any signs of being suspended? No, of course not. That's funny. But anyway, all good. Actually, he is moving. I'm just probably not going fast enough. The suspension is fully animated. Everything on the bogie moves. They're really cool. The train does sound pretty nice, and you've got to behave yourself in this game, and you kind of do need to learn the route, which I'm not really good at. So I've got two parts of the HUD turned on. Down in the left-hand corner, I've got a gradient, which I don't think you can see on the vertical stream because it doesn't quite fit. And on the right-hand side, I've got a thing that's telling me about speed limit signals and stations. It's a little bit like the mini HUD that you would get on Train Sim World. It will help me get through here. I'm just going to have to throttle off because I'm about to go over 10 mile an hour, which I'm not allowed to yet. The back of my train won't have passed that 25 board yet. Now, this thing has a really cool scoring system, which you will see. You can see our next signals have just gone green. This is old school semaphore signaling, so the advance signal, the yellow one, will be either at proceed or stop. Doesn't matter which it is, you can go through it, because it's actually telling you about the next signal. So you can see here, this is an advanced one, I think, coming up. Yeah, see how it's yellow? That's an advanced one that's telling me the state of the next ones. So you can see there's a red one down there which is at green, and there's another one down there. So we're all go. We can probably speed up down too, because we should be back past that board by now. Let's have a look. Oh, look at that. How convenient. We're outside the wall. If I switch camera modes, we should be able to get up there. There we go. So So we are past that board, which is good. Actually, you can see the suspension starting to work there. Just starting to, as we speed up. Passenger view. Nice wall. Kind of cool. How do I get back in the cab? I want to be back in the cab. There we go. So let's start picking up some speed. It does have decent train sounds on most of the trains, and the trains are very prototypical. They accelerate slowly, and they brake like greased pigs on super slides. So you got to get used to them. And simulation-wise, this is probably one of the best of the physics simulators. It's up there with Run 8 for its physics simulation. So expect a slightly more challenging time of it. Now, it's an incredibly cheap game. It's, I think, when I bought this one, it was about $20 Australian. I think it's a little bit more than that now, because it's still in early access. Has been since about 2018, I think. But it's getting regular updates. The developer is LapioWare, and they do things to it quite regularly. The passengers don't walk around, they're all static. They don't get it in and out of your trains. That will come at some point. The game is called Railcar Simulator. Best vid on YouTube, and welcome to the stream. I see you're in the vertical stream. As is Violet, you're in good company. So we're coming up to our speed limit of 40 miles an hour now. So I thought I'd run this one today. It was actually at the request of Grumpy Englishman, who wants more people to see this game, because I play it behind the scenes quite a bit. Oh, there's a camera angle. I play it behind the scenes quite a bit, and it's a fun game, but I don't stream it very much. And he asked me if I'd mind streaming it, because he wants to bring in more players for it, which is a good thing to do. Rails asks, wouldn't it be more convenient if you accelerate once you see the new speed limit? Well, on most railways, so there are a few exceptions to this. So the Bakerloo line, for example, and I think this applies to all the underground lines in the UK, you do the speed as you pass it. But most railways, when you see a speed board, if the speed's going down, you're expected to be doing that speed before you pass the board, and if the speed's going up, you do that speed after the tail of your train passes the board. So we're allowed up to 60. I can see my next signals are green, but I also saw on the starter that it was at proceed, so we can do that. And those yellow ones are called advanced signals or starters, depending on where you come from. We don't actually use them yet on the railway that I operate on, but they're coming. So our midway station, Lakeside, is getting a revamp with new trackage and new signalling. And it's going to be significantly more complex. So they need a way to hold trains outside of the station limits, so they're introducing starters. So there'll be an interesting change when that comes in. Okay, we're going to proceed here on this one. Now, in this game, if you run through a red signal, the game doesn't end. But what will probably happen is you'll crash into another train. So it's very much on you. It pops up a reminder and says, hey, you might want to go back, but you lose some points. I am running late. I'm nearly always running late in this game, because it is almost... Oh, no, I'm not speeding now. I'm allowed to do 90, so let's keep the juice on. Now, the camera angles you can do in this are just a little bit limited, so we'll see what we can do. Better check if that signal's green. It is. So we're coming up to Ashwell Rington. I don't actually know if this is a made-up route or if it's a real one, but it's called Westfords. and it's in Steam Workshop for the game. And the 35 High Mech is also in Steam Workshop from the game. There are other trains that run on Westfords, you'll see them. You will see 101s, 107s, 117s. They're all the diesel rail cars. I think it's also got 30... is it 37s? Might be 37s running on it. And some earlier things. Hello, Ashwell Rington. Here we go. Oh yeah, visually sometimes things disappear, so I was under the platform then, so it didn't draw it. Get used to that. Oh, that looks like a 117, I think. I'm not that fantastic at recognising your British rail cars. Hello, Joshua Moss. Yes, I was actually on the charity DTG stream. Joshua, I was had a pre-recorded video that I was in the chat for, that's why this one's running late. I can see my next signals coming up red, but I can also see, and I should have been paying more attention, because I've got a 40 zone coming up, so let me put in some pretty hard braking, which is going to lose me some pretty serious points, because I'm braking very, very hard to meet this 40-mile-an-hour zone, and I'm going to lose train handling points because of it. Yeah, Bricks at Home, the way that signalling is working, I should be able to release the brakes now and still get below 40, because it takes a while for them to come off, which is quite realistic. It's a vacuum brake, it has to pump it up. In fact, if you hold it in release, if I just pan down a little, if I hold it in this position, it actually pumps faster. So it brings the brakes off more quickly. We almost made it down to 40 mile an hour, so I will lose even more points for being excessively quick through there. And Bricks at Home, yes, the way the HUD signals work, this is actually realistic for manual British signalling, because what would happen is each signal box would contact the next one in advance, and they would tell the next signal box there's a train coming, and that next signal box would accept that train, and when they accept the train, they'll put their starter to proceed, but they won't necessarily pull off the next ones. It depends what kind of train it is. If it's an express like we are, they're quite likely to pull them off straight away, but there is a bit of a delay, because it's representing that they're physically walking to another lever and pulling it, and walking to another lever and pulling it, and they might have to set points and things like that as well. So the delay is quite realistic, and the signals are actually held at stop until they accept a train from the previous signal box. So it's actually quite clever. It's quite cheap on Steam. I think it's about $25 Australian these days, Joshua. So it's still quite a cheap game. And there's quite a lot of community routes for it, and there's a couple of built-in ones. The visuals on this thing have changed a lot over the years. This has recently had a very big scenic patch. Some of the older community routes aren't quite compatible with the big scenic patch changes. So the people who build them, whether they're active or not still, hopefully will update them over time. Some of the builders seem quite active and some of them aren't. Oh, I'll be perpetually late, Rails. Get used to it. You need to gradually increase your throttle in this game, or you, guess what, lose points. You'll see all about the points at the end. It's a very detailed walkthrough of points at the end. I'll take you through it when we finish this service. So, it's quite a challenging game to play. And now that its visuals are a lot cooler than they used to be, it's quite an interesting game too. Joshua in the vertical asks, assume it requires a bit less power than TSW would. Yeah, definitely it does. It's not making my machine break a sweat in the slightest. So if your machine happily runs Train Sim Classic, it'll run this, no dramas. It does still have some funny little graphic quirks here and there, but some things about the graphics in this actually look better than Train Sim World. I think the track shadows, for example, look better than Train Sim World's track shadows. some of the other elements are certainly improving. And again, not paying attention. But I won't have to brake as hard this time, so I'm only coming down to 50. Have a lovely time shopping, Violet. Great to see you again. So if you're into trams, this is a good one to pick up. There's loads of timetable services. It's also got a free roam mode. The timetable services are quite varied. There is a combination of actual prototypical routes and made-up ones, but even the made-up ones are actually quite good representations of prototypical practices. I'll enjoy entertaining Max, Violet. It sounds like fun. So I got down in time to under 50 for that corner now, and I can start accelerating again. And we're actually stopping at the next station at Nastbury. So I'll have to keep a bit of an eye on that so I can come to a nice, gentle stop. It does have, you probably heard the little white noise there. When you change camera angles, it's not that smooth about the audio changes. But its actual train sounds quite nice. And the only way to earn maximum points is to turn off the HUD. Safety systems are always on in these trains. They can't actually be turned off. You found the horizontal one. Excellent. Yeah, I am running both today just as a bit of an experiment, just to see how it goes. I should... At the moment, I can't actually see if anybody's even watching the vertical one. Oh, yes, they are. So there are some people watching on the vertical one, which is cool. Welcome along. Looks like about 50-50, to be honest, between the vertical and the horizontal streams. So if you're watching on vertical and you prefer to watch on horizontal, I did post a key, or not a key, sorry, a link into the chat a little bit earlier. If you need a new one, please let me know. And if you're watching on horizontal but you'd prefer vertical, for your phone, there is a vertical format one. You can also, of course, if you're using a phone, just turn it sideways. And you can watch the horizontal one. For me, that would be a better experience, I think, because the vertical layout is a little bit challenged for gaming. I've tried a layout, so if you're watching the vertical one, and let me know what you think. Let me know if you think there's a better way that I could actually do this layout. There you go, we can see the suspension woggling away there. And you can, I'll just try and get in closer. I'm not great with the controls on this game, so let me just gently try and get in closer. But you can see that, well, you could, now you can. You can see that every part of that thing's actually moving and the springs are compressing, and we're supposed to stop at this station, aren't we? Oh dear. Well, I should have probably paid a little bit more attention because we just Nebworked that one completely. And I've also got a rather significant corner coming up. So I'm sitting there, I'm going on and crapping on about the suspension and how good it is, and I completely miss the point of driving a train, which is to stop and pick up passengers. I Nebworked it. But we've gotten down to the speed for the corner at least. We'll probably stop now because I braked so hard. But that's okay. Just hold the brakes in release and hope we don't stop, and start gently powering as well. Which, funnily enough, will also lose me points. But that's okay. Hello C, hello Kuminati. Hello Bricks at Home. Who says the Class 35 sounds are recorded from D7076 at the East Lancs Railway. I'm very happy with how they turned out. Awesome. I only missed one station. I was supposed to drive through the other one, and I'm meant to drive through the next one too. So at least we're not going to stop. You can hear that she's She's complaining a little bit. You hear the sounds a little bit different? It's complaining because it's hauling against the brakes that are still releasing in the back of the train. So they're actually quite clever with the way they do this. And from a train operating perspective, I find this game really enjoyable. I actually think this is a lot more fun than the other comparable physics simulator, which is Run 8. To me, Run 8, because it's all about really long freights and really long runs, so you can literally spend a 12-hour shift in Run 8. I don't find Run 8 interesting to drive. I find Run 8 interesting to work as a dispatcher, and I do that on a server from time to time, where I'll operate the dispatch on the railway. Sorry, railroad when it's Run 8. I get told off when I'm playing Run 8 and I call it a railway. They go, oh, it's a railroad. But they do it an American way. And they talk about things like running it up the flagpole and see how it goes. Yes, but this simulator to me is a lot more fun because you can run a nice express service like this one where you're not stopping at many stations, or perhaps like me and you nib with them and stop at even less stations. Or you can pick a stopping all station service and just run a railcar. Do things like that. There's no steam available in this game. That's an interesting layout going off to the left and the right there. I assume those tracks cross over us. There are some things missing, so once you're in a route, there's no way to see its map that I'm aware of, but if someone knows of a way to do it, let me know. But that seems to be the way. Hello Noah, how are you? You've turned up in the vertical stream. If you prefer a horizontal stream, scroll back and there's a link to the horizontal one. Joshua asks, are there any Aussie routes? No, there's only UK routes for this, but there's nothing stopping someone making it because it's actually got a relatively intuitive editor, so it's a reasonable one to work with. And I can see I've got a red signal. No, it's green. Good. So that should mean, and there, see there's a starter signal. We've just passed it. So I was just trying to get back in the cab and show you the starter signal, and I just missed it. When you see on the right-hand side, you see the signals turn up, that probably means you're about to pass a starter. So if you're not in the cab, you probably want to get back in the cab so that you can actually see the starter coming up. We are on full howl. We're allowed back up to 90 miles an hour at this point, but I'm sure there will be something I have to slow down for, which will appear with very little notice, because I'm quite used to one of the other routes. I quite like running the Highlands route. I don't actually need to run the HUD when I run the Highlands route because I know it fairly well now. But on this one, I do need to run the HUD. Now this one we're going through Whittington, because it says pass in front of the station name. That means you're not stopping. And we can see a little rail car there. So this game started with just the rail cars, and gradually it's gotten more and more diesel engines coming into it. There's quite a lot now. I missed new MIMS right at the start. Did I? Really? Kuminati says I'm the average Brit driver. It did open the doors at new MIMS. That was the starting one. 37s are in this game, yes. And Kuminati asks, how does DRS compare against TSW in the sim aspect? It's a much better simulator. From a train perspective, it's better. Visually, I prefer Train Sim World. And this is getting closer though. This is actually getting pretty good now. The variance in trees and things in here is magic. But a lot of them are North American trees that he's picking up as assets from somewhere. Bricks at Home says the next major update will add a map that you can view while driving, but not possible at the moment. Yeah, there is a Discord for this game, which you can join. So there's a link to that. I won't post one in because it's... actually, I could, I suppose. There's a link to it from the Steam page. Now, I haven't got a station coming up for a while, have I? Let me pop over to the Steam page, because I'm pretty sure there is a link to his Discord on here somewhere. Oh, maybe there's not. I thought there was. No, I I can't see a link to the Discord on here. Oh, and its current Australian pricing is $29.50, so there you go. But it's a very active community on Steam and on the Discord, so it's one that's worth immersing yourself in a little. As we run through Chorley, just leave all these delightful people behind. Hello, Aidan Thorne. This is Diesel Railcar Simulator. It's available on Steam for PC. And Aidan Thorne, Simulation X, hello to you. And if I haven't said it already, hello to Noah as well. See, I've got red... No, they've changed. So the starter will appear from behind this bridge. Terribly positioned signal. There's green. And I'm supposed to be doing 50 at the moment, and I am doing a little more than that, so that'll be more points lost. But at least I'm picking up some time. A little bit of spirited running. Joshua asks, do you have any DTG ambassador secrets about the GWR remaster? No, I don't. Wouldn't be a secret if it was if I was telling you. But no, I don't. I'm actually taking a rest from beta at the moment as well. So I'm not betering anything at the moment, so it will come as just as much of a surprise to me when it comes as it will to you. Which is a cool thing. The reason I'm taking a little bit of a rest from beta is I found that it was difficult to be excited about a new offering because I'd already played the crap out of it. So I found that my reveal streams were probably not as exciting as they should be. So I thought I'd take a little bit of a rest from beta and see what happens with that. And then we'd go from there. And I should pay a little bit more attention because, once again, I am speeding. Yeah, so I think I'm on track for a negative score, Bricks at Home. I really do. Even my best scores in this game are very high. So when I'm completely paying attention and I'm not looking at chats, it's actually even harder to look at chat today because there's two of them. My personal opinion on this one, Aidan, I actually like it. I find it's a really good simulator. So I actually operate on a real railway, and I find that this is as close as you get to the operating physics of an actual train. And it's got lots of little touches, like things like the suspension actually working. I like that. And you can see all the carriages moving around. They're all rocking and rolling and bouncing, doing their thing. We are passing through the next station. Just gradually picking up speed again so I don't lose even more points. You don't know how many points you've lost till the end either. And there's a lot more HUD you can turn on. When you start the game, there's about, I'm going to say 10. So down the left-hand corner, I've got a little tablet that says gradient or a lozenge, whatever you want to call it. I keep that one on because it helps you understand what's going on with your train, if it's slowing down or speeding up or whatever, because it's not always obvious from the graphic route that you're going uphill or downhill. And I find that I'm nearly always late in this game, but I have seen people who know the game really well and who know the routes really well do a really amazing job at keeping to time. So it's certainly possible, but you need to learn it. So even with missing some stations, I'm struggling to keep time. Aidan on the vertical stream asks, what railway do I work on? It's the Puffing Billy Railway. It's a heritage railway in Melbourne. I was firing a steam engine yesterday. Did a 12-hour shift. Doing another one next week. Actually training a new fireman next week. Female fireman, which would be awesome. In the Steam era, 40s and 50s and so, the footplate was a male-dominated thing. It's not anymore. Even in World War II, when most of the younger males and virulent males got sent off to fight in the war, the engine drivers and engine firemen and the shed people didn't. They retained their work because I think it was recognised that it does take several years to become proficient in firing or driving a train. So they were spared. But in today's world, we have everybody on the footplate. And our railway is very inclusive. We have anything you can think of. So we have quite a bit of variety amongst the volunteers these days. Now I'm going to have to stop at Flitwick Hill, so I should probably maybe even think about actually doing it this time. It's still about 10 minutes away though. And we're going to pass through Belsham with the next one, and we're not supposed to stop. Noah says he's really impressed with what we've seen on the MBTA route so far, especially with a variety of rolling stock. Yeah, it should be pretty good. I actually really like Boston. If I look in the stats in Train Sim World, Boston's my most played route. So I have high hopes for MBTA, and I have to admit, not beta testing it, I'm actually quite excited to see it. And my personal impression is that it's not very far away. I don't have any formal official news on that, but I just personally think that it will... Oh, this is a nice view. Gratuitous bridge shot, and I didn't have to do it. My personal opinion is that it's close. It's just the vibe I get. So I think we'll probably see a reveal stream. Actually, I think a reveal stream's been announced, hasn't it? I think. So we'll see. You're in the north of the UK, Aidan. I was in the UK in May and June. I visited 17 heritage railways, and I did a formal firing day on Tallaght, and I did throw some coal on North Yorkshire Moors and Bluebell as well, just briefly. They weren't firing full runs, it was just I was in the cab and they went, "Hey, do you want to?" And I went, "Of course I do." Because, you know, like you'd say no. Alright, here comes Belsham coming up. Cruising along just under 80 miles an hour. I do have to, one thing, if you do get this game, if you've got a rail driver, unplug the rail driver, because the way this game works with rail driver is horrible. It really is. And it's just a nightmare. I'm using a Xbox controller to run it. I find that's just a little better than keyboard. But you can certainly use keyboard and mouse, should you choose to. I use a little bit of a hybrid of mouse and Xbox controller. And we're due at Flitwick Hill. Look at that! On time! Look at that! That never happens. 29th of October release date. So they've actually announced a release date. Oh, fantastic. So yeah, look at that. Good vibe. It's not far away at all. Alright, Aidan, you have a good time, and if you pop back in, fantastic. If not, enjoy your day. Actually, it's quite late at night for you, I think. There goes another one of these beasties going the other way. Now I should probably... 7:39, I was on time on the other one, so in theory I've got about 5 minutes before I get into Flitwick Hill, cruising along at just under 80. In this game you should not have to run at the speed limit to make the time. Yeah, 10 past midnight. Yeah, I thought it was a bit late there, Aidan. I do see on Matt's stream that he's still going, and he's raised £2,310 for special effects. Funnily enough, I am still actually watching Matt's stream that I was live on a little while ago. Yeah, you have a good night, Aiden. So, I have Matt's stream on my phone, which I'm glancing over it occasionally, which is also keeping me away from the chat. I'm just going to throttle off now, because we're approaching 90 mile an hour, and I want to just gradually start slowing down for Flitwick Hill, which is not too far away. Preview stream on the 22nd for MBTA. That's good to know. You'd think I'd know that, wouldn't you, as an ambassador? You'd think I'd pay a little bit more attention. But, actually, I think I knew what date the preview stream was, because I think it's in my preview of the route. I read from their article the other day. So, yeah, cool. Hey, Michael. Yeah, Kuminati, not all games support Raildriver very well, and I know why LapioWare's implementation is poor. It's because he hasn't got one, and he is not really in a position to afford one, so he's just kind of put it together from the documentation, and the documentation's not very good. Says he, not paying attention again. With a 50-mile corner coming up, and I'm doing 80. So, Point City, here we come. You can derail a train in this game. You have to try quite hard to do it. But you can certainly do it. I'm not going to start speeding up again now because we're not far from Flitwick Hill. In fact, it's just turned up on the HUD. So we can start some gentleish braking. Try and bring our speed down for Flitwick Hill. Now notice this signal here with the yellow face, and I've just had to acknowledge AWS. The yellow face is at caution. Those signals never display stop. They only display proceed or caution. Oh, they've done a lot of work on the ballast. This is new. It's only just changed. So we'll stop in a station and have a look at the ballast. It's actually a good thing. Now, it might pull the signals off just as I get up there, but I do need to be prepared to stop short just in case. So we'll release now and just roll towards it, because I can stop quite rapidly from 20 mile an hour if I need to. You can zoom in to see. In fact, I can see that the signal has actually gone green, but the HUD's still showing red. It does that for a while. It doesn't seem to update them very often. So just to stop us, because the train was just coming up a gradient then, we're on a level now, the loco is, but the train will still be coming up the hill. So the HUD's a bit of a fibber in this case, because I can see the signal right in front of me is green. There we go. So I think what happens is it changes when it thinks you can see them. That's the other thing. So believe it or not, we're actually going to stop at a station. We're not going to Nebworth this one. And then we can have a bit of a look at the ballast as well while we're waiting for the train to load. You don't open or close your doors in this game, it just happens. You have got a guard who's doing all the guard things. Oh, Michael meant he's still watching Matt's stream. Absolutely, please do. And anybody that can afford to give to Special Effect, please have a look at the Train Sim World channel. If you can't afford, that's absolutely fine. Not everybody can. That's perfectly okay. If you can afford something, it's a fantastic charity to support. Because they basically make gaming accessible. Just trying to remember how long this train is. I'm going to go up to the 8-car marker. I don't actually know if this is a real-world route, Noah, but it's real-world practices. I think we're probably in at the back now. Let's have a look. Yeah, we are in at the back. I want to get back in my cab. Please, cab. Yes, there we go. Alright, pop on some gentle braking, and we will stop. We are on time. And let's look outside. unlock my cameras. See how the doors have just opened up by themselves? So it knows I'm here. It's a fictional one. Thanks, Bricks at Home. Very good. Mobin, hello. Hello to Amsterdam. Cool. Mobin's turned up in the vertical feed. If you prefer a horizontal feed, Mobin, there's a link earlier in the chat to the horizontal screen. So we're driving a 35 or plus 35 high-mech diesel, and we're on the Westmoreland's Railway. Westmoreland? Yes. Guard's blown the whistle. I can see that my window has closed, so let's get back in and pop a little bit of power on and then get the brakes off. I popped a little bit of power on first because you can see we're on a gradient, so I don't want to roll backwards as the brakes release. You can't put on too much power though, because guess what? You lose points. And even though I can't see my next signal, I can tell that it's green. Bricks at Home confirms the HUD will update the red signal as soon as you get close enough to see the signal without zooming in. Bricks at Home clearly plays this game a lot more than I do. Yeah, good to meet you too, Mobin. So, I'm streaming in both into the Shorts feed and into the normal live stream feed today, concurrently. And that's to try and attract some new viewers, so it's certainly picked up a few new ones in the Shorts feed so far, so that's cool. I have noticed that some of the Shorts people, I see a lot coming in and disappearing, but there's some people staying, which is cool, so welcome to you. You're absolutely welcome to join in the chat if you desire to. You don't have to. Off we go out of Flitwick Hill, so we'll be passing Little Bar and then we'll go to Hitchington. Yeah, I certainly recommend it, Noah. Noah's just suggested that, tempted to pick this up on Steam. It does come up on sale occasionally. In the transport sale, I think it was about $18 Australian. Mobin, I'm from Melbourne in Australia. I'm in the southeastern suburbs of Melbourne. And I both do this and work on a heritage railway as well. I'm in steam engines in real life, rather than... Actually, I shouldn't say I'm never in diesels, because not this Saturday, but the one after, I actually am on a diesel. Even though this is fictional, it feels quite believable. Now, the 35 is your work. Fantastic, Bricks at Home. You've done a really nice job of it. Hello, Huff and Diesel on the vertical stream. How are you? You have done a wonderful job with this locomotive. I really enjoy it. Definitely come to Australia, Mobin, in the vertical stream. Hopefully you'd find it enjoyable. I think you've nailed the physics on this one, Bricks at Home. It's quite impressive. Look at me, actually doing the right speed for a curve. Had to happen eventually. Maximus asks, do you use keyboard and mouse when playing or something else like a dashboard? I'm currently using a Xbox controller plugged into my PC, and I use the mouse a little bit for camera angles because it's easier than the controller. But you can use just keyboard if you want to. It does support the Raildriver desktop controller, but its support for Raildriver is not good. In fact, very few games support Raildriver in a really good way, but this one doesn't handle it well at all. So I actually unplug it when I am playing this one. The Real Huggable Panda says, I play TSW because I like walking around and watching trains. That's cool. Does anyone know what the best DLC for that? I have Blackpool and lots of layers. What's good for modern trains? Depends which country you like, I suppose. The one where you'll see the absolute most trains on any of them is the Brighton Main Line. It's called London Commuter or Brighton Commuter, one or the other. But it's the Brighton Main Line. That one's very, very busy. If you want a American one that's very busy, the original Boston, MBTA, is quite a busy one. Coming in through Little Bar, we're not supposed to stop here, so we're just passing through. And let's give them some clag. There you go. We're blowing smoke all over them now. Hello, Railways of Victoria. How are you? Noah Hunt says the sounds are awesome. Are the semaphore signals in Australia similar how they are in the UK? They're actually based on UK prototypes, so yes. But naturally enough, we've done our own weird and wonderful things, so they don't quite have the same meaning. Noah's is based in Reading on the Great Western Main Line, but used to travel to Cornwall a lot to see the semaphores. I was surprised actually in my travelling around the UK to see as many semaphores as I did. There's quite a few around the place, and there's even manually operated junctions still, which I thought was cool. I don't think we've got any of those anymore, at all. London Commuter, thank you, Michael. Mobin says, love it. It's almost like I'm on the train. That's cool. I'm glad that comes across in the vertical feed, because my layout is a little weird for vertical. Yeah, stay on brakes. There we go. But I want that much brakes. Good. That's better. What I'm looking at for the brakes here, if you're not familiar with the gauges, so we've got our miles per hour there, and I can probably release the brakes a little bit now. And over here, this pressure gauge, which is actually a vacuum gauge, is showing me how much vacuum I'm pulling right now. Just release those because we are down to the speed limit. So this one is interesting because it clearly has air brakes on the locomotive, but vacuum brakes for the train. So a little bit like Flying Scotsman, because that works that way too. Our next stop is Hitchington. Is probably not terribly far away because we're due in there and we were more or less on time. So, and we're doing the right speed for a corner. Woo! That had to happen eventually. That's twice now. Let's just pop a bit of brake on and start slowing down for Hitchington. I quite like vacuum brakes. They're actually a little bit easier to use than air brakes, to be honest. And this is from someone who actually uses air brakes. Alright, see you later, Maximus. Thanks for dropping by. Mobin, if you come to Australia, Mobin from the vertical feed, if you come to Australia and you come down the southeast corner, come and visit the Puffing Billy Railway and say hello. I'm there most Saturdays. If you listen to my wife, I'm there all Saturdays. Not quite true. It's close. This month I am there all Saturdays, but we'll ignore that. Actually, no, I'm not, because I missed the first one. November, I'm there all Saturdays. That's okay. Huggable Panda, you're absolutely welcome for the answer. And nothing wrong with having a specialisation in your own local trains. I'd love to play more Australian trains in simulators, but we're not terribly well represented because we're such a small market. So it's not really commercially viable to do just Australian trains. There is an Australian train simulation game manufacturer called N3V, which used to be called Oran, and I'm slowing down a bit too early. We'll ignore that. It's fine. I'm going down a fairly steep gradient too, so I'll pick the speed back up. There is N3V, which used to be called Oran. They make trains. No, it's trains with a Z. They do have some Australian content and some New Zealand content in trains. But trains is more on the model railway style of simulation, so it's not at all realistic. Looks nice though these days. They've done a pretty good job. YouTube's popping up and going, hey, why don't you run an ad? And I'm going, hey, why don't I not? YouTube does love its ads. Actually, I'm curious, if you're watching the vertical stream, let me know if you're seeing ads. So if you are seeing ads in the vertical stream, I'd be curious, because I have them turned off, but I've heard that they go with vertical regardless. Richard, hello to you. You're in the vertical stream. If you'd prefer the horizontal stream, there's a link earlier in the chat. Yeah, Bricks at Home, I have seen someone starting on a... oops, I think I stopped just a tad early. So, yes, the guard is refusing to open the doors because my window didn't open, so let's just move off again. Because the guard won't open the doors if you're not properly in the platform. This lady probably thinks I'm watching her now. Yeah, so I think I've seen someone making a derm for this simulator. So a derm is a double-ended rail motor. Very imaginative name. There we go. I'll just take it down to the 8 board again and we'll get there. We'll be fine. So it'd be good to... hopefully someone will make an Australian route too. That would be awesome. I think that would bring quite a lot of players into this market, and because it's a small game with just the one developer and the community developers, that Australian content would probably sell enough that it would justify doing it. Noah Hunt would love to see the Melbourne metro system in Train Sim World. He thinks a lot of the Sydney commuter routes would work as well. There you go. There goes our window, so the guard's opening the doors. Let's pop outside and have a look. Not all the doors open, which is cool. That's something I actually like in this. And none on this side, which is excellent. It's a bit of an art to manage the controller for your camera angles in this thing, because it is, even if you turn the sensitivity right down, it's super sensitive on the joysticks. Last doors are now closing. You probably won't actually hear the guard, he's too far away. There goes my window, so let's brakes off, get some acceleration going. You can hear the vacuum pump running. And eventually we will move off. Eventually. After we finish fighting the brakes. See, it's trying to. Give it a bit more juice. Just going to spin around this way just so I can see signals. Kind of important, I think. And I'll shut up for a bit and let you listen. Look how much animation there is in the suspension on the bogies on the coach. There's less so on the diesel because it would have much stiffer springs, but you can still see it happening. Very nice to see a game animating the brake shoes away from the wheel too. A lot of them just leave them on the wheel, which would be a bit of a disaster from a running perspective because they'd get very hot. On full power on our way to Broxbourners, which we will go straight through and then straight through Little Cromer's End. Michael says Matt has now raised £2,328. That's really cool. Richard says, after just finishing listening to Black Chords and Melbourne Band, I believe, a Thin Line album, I thought I'd pop in for a wee nosy. Why not? Yeah, I think the Hymex's quite good. I'm quite enjoying it, Richard. Looks like the vertical stream's gone to sleep. There's only one person watching that now. I do note that Matt said he had an hour to go, more than an hour ago, which is quite typical of Matt because he's still going. That's quite normal for that fella. So let's just start powering off and get a little bit of brakes on for slowing down for the entry to Broxbourners. We only have to come down to 70 this time. Release now because we'll probably make that fine. The simulation in this is good enough that you need to think about things like releasing the brakes before you get to the speed you want to do, because they're still applying on the back of the train, and they're probably only just starting to come off now. There are some pretty funny mods out for this game that you won't find in Steam Workshop. There's one to make all the people naked, for example, which is kind of funny. It's just amusing. Install it, run a train, uninstall it. So we're back to being late again. Good to see. And tree cam. In my session on the Train Sim World channel earlier, I did point out that the external camera turns up in trees nearly all the time. And I did see Matt put a comment in the chat that says, makes note to delete all trees. Industrial area here. Welcome to the people who have just joined both streams. We've had quite a few pick up in both, so quite cool. Hello to you all. Feel free to say hi in the chat, or if you've got any questions, please ask. If you've got any suggestions on how I could make the format better in the vertical too, that would be cool. Learning what would work for you. I think I rolled through there at about 51, judging by the speedometer, so I probably still lost some points then, but it wouldn't have been many. And the back of our train should be past that 90 sign by now. Proceed on the advanced starter here. And little chroma coming up on the horizon as well. Water looking quite cool. On people who said the ballast looks good, yes it does. And there's mixed coloured ballast too. It chops and changes as you go. So it's quite nice to see transitions of colour in the ballast, because that's realistic. When they go and, even if they pick up stone from the same quarry, as it ages in the air, it changes colour. Sorry folks, this train's not for you. So we roll on through. Now 7 minutes late. Yay. Perfect. That's what you want. You can see the advances that proceed, which is good. we're approaching the end of this run. We'll find another one in the Hymek. And then we might have a look at something else that's available. The simulation is good enough in this. You may have noticed that I'm on and off the power and little bits of braking here and there, and you need to do that, so it's very much like a real locomotive. Because while on my railway I am officially a fireman, this is my job, I do get to drive because the drivers go, hey, step into my office for a while. And they get you to run the train, which is great fun and a really good learning experience. So I get to drive both steam and diesel on my railway. Sounds good. Bricks at Home, who has suggested, oops, I suppose I should blow the horn, has suggested Kempsford HFW SF Slow 03. Oh, that'll be fine. My wife is elsewhere today, so I can run a little overtime. I also started an hour late today, so that's fine too. We are due in Kempsford now, but we're a little while away, I'm tipping. So, we won't be there just on time. Perhaps a little late. But I'm sure the travelling public will forgive us for being a little bit late. After all, it's not a problem with Deutsche Bahn. I think most passengers in Deutsche Bahn these days are just glad if the train gets there. It's actually funny, on our Heritage Railway, we treat the timetable as a guide. It's a list of stations that you're going to go through. Cool, thanks Michael. It's a list of stations that you're going to go through, and the points that you need to most adhere to is the places where you're crossing another train, because that's kind of important. But even though we say that, we're on time most of the time. I like holding up trains, Bricks at Home. It's one of my favourite pastimes. Annoying the AI. Kinda like annoying the AI. Matt's finally finished. It's probably about 12:44 there. So almost 1 AM. And I think he's back on it. Some ungodly hour. Yeah, one of the things that game signalers or dispatchers, whatever you want to call them in your particular region of the world, aren't particularly good at doing is doing what a human would do and adapting. So a human faced with a situation where they've got a train that's a few minutes away and they've got another train waiting, would adapt the situation, and they'd most likely bring the other train that's waiting in to keep it on time. Whereas in a game, it goes, oh, well, you've got to wait for this train, so you've got to wait for this train. Bricks at Home asks any predictions about my score. I think it might be a little lower than the 200 mark. I think the best score I've ever gotten in this game is about 400 and something. Because I just don't pay enough attention to it. Even though I do want to slow down to 25, I do have a bit of a gradient happening, so just keeping the power on a little for the moment. Back at 10 AM tomorrow, excellent. I'll be live chatting in his game. It'll be tonight for me. And I'll be on fairly early, because that'll be fairly late for me. So I'm planning on just chatting with Matt about life in general. LapioWare says 10,000 is considered perfect. Yeah, I don't think I'll ever get there. That is an advance. Good. I got slightly worried then. I zoomed in and went, nah, it's yellow, it's fine. Another horn going off for the next one, which is also red. That one will probably come off. So I'm coming into the station, but you can't count on it. It may not. Sometimes they don't. And you'd never doing what I'm doing with the vacuum brakes with an air brake. Vacuum brake is quite forgiving to do multiple small applications. It's fine. It's a perfectly acceptable way to use the machine. And quite normal. But you'd never do that with air brakes. Because after about your third brake, you can't do it anymore. Until it charges up again. It's actually interesting, the scoring systems in games, because I think if you were to score the real activity on the railway that I work on, for example, I am rarely maintaining the perfect steam pressure. I'm maintaining an adequate steam pressure. I try to maintain the perfect water level, because that's a lot more important. Because I don't know about you, but I don't want to die. And having inadequate water, that's exactly what's going to happen to you. So it's a massive responsibility being a fireman on a steam train. You're not there by yourself, you're part of a team working with your driver. And your driver is equally responsible as you are, because the driver is responsible for the safety of the entire train, whereas you're responsible for the safety of the boiler. So drive will always have a second pair of eyes, and drive will always be looking at your glass to see how much water you've got. And all of the drivers have been firemen on the railway, so they know what you should have. And as you're coming up to points, so if you're about to come up to a hill and you're going to go up the hill or you're going to go down the hill, you always call out to your driver whether you think you're okay. And if you say to your drive, I'm a bit light on water, if you're about to go top over a hill and go down the other side, the driver will stop and let you recover. If you're coming up to a hill that you're going to have to climb, so you're heading back towards your firebox, In those situations, maybe you haven't got enough steam and you go, drive, can you take it easy for the first bit, please? And they will, because, I mean, they want to get up the hill too. I do like the exhaust blasts in this game. I think there's too many games that emulate the exhaust blast from a modern locomotive, which generally speaking you can't see at all. But of course, in the period that we're modelling, exhaust was a big part of life. Welcome to Kempsford. This is the end of the line. They appear to have some flowers growing in the platform. It's a nice touch. It's good to see the station masters looking after the people by growing some flowers. Me being me always goes as near to the stopboard as I can, because I'm like that. There we go. 9 minutes late. Now let's look at our points. So you can see it does have quite a bit. So tutorial penalties, this one. This is, they call them tutorials, but what it really means is the HUD elements. So I'm losing points because I've got HUD elements turned on. Minimap, which is the stations and things like that as we're going. Repeating signals on the minimap, I lose more points for that. Showing the uphill and downhill gradients, I lose points for that. Showing the station stopping time, I use points for that. So you can turn all these things off, so as you gradually learn the route. And if we look at my behaviour, my speed behaviour actually wasn't too bad on this run. So there's a bit of speeding there. I was quite terrible through there. But yeah, it's not too bad in a lot of places. Got better towards the end when I was paying more attention to my speed and less to the chat. So speed limit exceeded 40 times. See, I would prefer that it counted it when you crossed the boundary once, but it doesn't. It keeps checking every now and again and adds them up. Unsafe driving. This is, yeah, going a little bit quick. So if I'm approaching signals too quickly, or if I am approaching a curve or something like that, I did miss 2 stations. Max comfortable acceleration exceeded. This one I find actually a little bit dubious, because we are talking about an older train, and that one was probably not a... it's probably not one that you'd even feel the acceleration with, to be honest. It's not going to press you back in your seat. So that one, yeah, I don't quite agree with that one. Cumulative minutes late, lost points. Energy usage, I was quite frugal. I only use 63%. All right, let's go on to here. So you can go into what's basically a free roam and you can watch trains happening. But we're going to pop back to the menu and we'll run this one that Bricks at Home suggested, which is... what time does that one run? Kempsford HFW SF Slow 03 is what we're looking for. Is that one? That's Slow 01. Slow 02. Let's find Slow 03. Come on, highlight it. That one. That's the one we're going to run. Semi-fast train with 6 cars. And you can run normal or rescue. So we're going to run normal. And you can see that there is a map, but this is the only chance you get to see it. So you could always take a screenshot of it, I suppose. It's a little bit difficult to do that because it makes the game a bit of a weirdie. So we will be... So this is where you can... If you're turning the HUD off, you would memorize or make some notes on this screen as to what you're supposed to do. So a driver would always have a timetable card, as an example. So you could write down all of these times if you wanted to, and then you could turn the HUD off. So we're going to be stopping at quite a few places, and then we're going to be not stopping at quite a few places, which is cool. And we will keep this on. You can have different weather. Let's put the weather up to a bit cloudy. Simple controls if you want a less interesting experience, let's call it that. And while you can start the game while it's loading stuff, I would definitely suggest that you don't Just let it do its thing, because it doesn't normally take very long. Just letting it load in before I press the start button. Just let it be nice and calm for when we start doing things. I think we're probably about right now, so let's hit the start button and let's wake this machine up. Let's get our loco brake on so we can start releasing. I hadn't assigned anything to the loco brake. I was actually quite sure I had assigned a button to the handbrake, but I guess not. Look, going the wrong way. Go that way. Go that way. There we go. It's fully off now. The reason I've released the train brakes and just holding on the loco brake, yes, the carriages might move a little bit, especially since we're on a gradient. Actually, in this case, we're on a gradient downhill, so they're going to conk into the back of me. Which could actually lose me some points, thinking about it, because they're all going to go bunk, 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 bunk. And then when we start moving, they will go bunk, 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 bunk. So I'll stretch out. But, so I'm limited to 70 due to the siphon wagon on the back. Well, we better go have a look at the back. Ah, look at that. We're running a mixed. Excellent. So since it's called a siphon wagon, what actually is it? Is it, looks like it's ventilated. So I'm guessing could be cattle or something. There's our guard who wants us to leave, I think, so we should probably go back up the front and actually do that. That might be a good idea. Our window has indeed closed. So I'll lean forwards, we are. Give it just a touch of power, and then we will release this loco brake. And it's very hard to tell with the semaphores, but I believe we do have a green white in front of us. Got a parcels or luggage wagon there. Now I can see there is one semaphore behind the telegraph or telephone wires, which is green. So in this case, the semaphore, and this is where you would be helpful if you know the route, because I'm actually guessing here, but I'm guessing that that semaphore is telling me that I can proceed, but I'm also crossing onto the left-hand track. That's why I say semaphores are used to show weird and wonderful things sometimes. A milk wagon. Excellent. Well, we don't want to spill white juices everywhere. Cow juice is quite expensive. So we definitely want to look after the white cow juice. Could, of course, be flavoured cow juice. Notice a few more people have popped into the vertical stream. If horizontal is more to your liking, if you scroll back up the chat, you will find a link to the horizontal format stream. If you'd like to stay here, absolutely welcome to do so. Look at that suspension rocking and rolling as it goes over the bumpy bits. Quite a rough set of points, that one. No, I don't mean beef milk Kuminati. That would be a different thing entirely. Bricks and Homes says that they were built to transport milk churns and later adapted with closed vents for parcels, which is cool. Sorry if I seem like I'm not looking at you sometimes, because the camera's here, but I've got YouTube chat over this side, and I've got OBS running over this side. Just stuff I need to look at from time to time to make sure it's doing what I think it's doing. That's it. Still all at stop. I'm hoping it'll come off. I don't think it's going to. We have had one come off, and so we'll be crossing onto the left track again. Okay. We might acknowledge the signalman, maybe? This lets him know that we've seen his signal. Signalmen like being acknowledged. They think they're awfully important. They kind of are. They're kind of useful creatures. We're not stopping at the next station, because that's Cherrington, and we're stopping at the one after it, which is Trowden, or Troden. One thing I do actually like about this is the roundness of the wheels. That might seem funny, but a lot of games fail to have round wheels, and this one's pretty good at it. Watch as we bump our way through here. Exceptionally rough track work back there. It's like the narrow gauge. Ah, so this is one of the preserved ones. That's cool. One thing I'd often wondered with UK railways, but never gotten around to looking up, is a lot of the classes are just marked with a D and a number. So apart from knowing yourself, the different variants by shape, how do you tell them apart? Back of our train should be past that 60 zone by now. Nice to have a bit of clouds in the sky with a softer light. I can't remember which game update that came in, but the lighting changes were not there at the start of this game. They came in a little bit later as the engine developed. Now, cool. Thanks, Bricks at Home. Bricks at Home answered my question with, believe the first part of the number denotes the class. All the 35s are D70XX, for example. That sounds like a railway thing, doesn't it? It could have been D35 and a number, but no, it's D70 and a number, and somehow you know that's 35. That does seem like a railway thing. As is often said around railways, there's the right way, the wrong way, and the railway. Because, you know, we're just a touch unique compared to the rest of the world. We really are. Just a little bit unique. Kuminati says it's something your smart uncle would just know. Or that guy with the little book on the platform, one who's writing numbers down. He goes, ooh, there's a 35. Remember the last time I saw a 35, it was, ooh, let me think, 7 minutes ago in the other platform. There's always someone like that round the railway. There's a young fellow who comes on our railway who has his life challenges, and we call him Jumpy because he comes to the railway with his carer, and he comes on most days to see at least one train somewhere along the railway, and as soon as he sees the train he starts jumping up and down, and as the train approaches and of course is naturally getting louder and louder to him, he starts making really loud train noises himself. So it's cool to see that he's getting some enjoyment out of the railway. Kuminati says he's fascinated by the way information travelled before internet days. I can tell you what they used. It's social channels, like actual social channels. Hello, train skits, etc. Yes, verticality has been achieved. So I'm streaming both in a vertical format and a horizontal format. There's a link earlier in the chat if you prefer the horizontal format. If you like the vertical one, that's fine. Train skits, etc. If you've never met the channel, has got lots of short railway videos. Quite encourage you to check out his channel and think about subscribing because it's a good one. Roll through Cherrington, and we have to stop at Trowden. I am 3 minutes late, but I really don't care because I'm trying not to speed this time. I'm trying to be good. We are going downhill now, so I'll be picking up some speed anyway. Not a lot, but some. The bell tells me the signal I couldn't see is green. Proceed. Now, I don't actually know how far away Trowden is, so I'll just have to keep an eye on the HUD. But on the way information travelled, back in the dark ages when dinosaurs were alive and I first started dating my now wife, back when I was at RMIT University a long time ago, very long time ago, we kissed in one of the laneways of the uni, and we both experienced the power of something that I call GreekNet, because her mum knew before we got home. Certainly a powerful feature of life and communications. Bricks at Home says the Class 35 style came about when BR switched to TOPS numbering. Yeah, that was a computer system, if I remember rightly. It was one of the first computer not operated railways, but one of the first computer managed railways. So they knew where all the locomotives and all the carriages actually were. Something I don't think anybody else achieved that for probably about another 8 to 10 years before any other major network achieved it. A few railways were doing it. I think it was the Southern Pacific were very good at it. They had a very good system, but it wasn't happening network-wide, and once your train had left their jurisdiction, they couldn't actually tell you where your carriages were. Which is, as the production methods of the world changed to just-in-time, it's very important to know where your goods actually are and how far away they are, so that you know that they're going to get there on time, that your processing can continue. Because if they're not going to get there on time, you might switch your assembly to something else. We have a left-hand green here, which would suggest we're going down the left-hand track into the platform, probably. I do say probably. Rolling our way into Trowden, or Troden. Matt Val said it'd be awesome if this can come out on console. It's a bespoke game engine, so that could be challenging, because generally to come out in console you want to be running one of the big ones like Unreal or Unity or something like that. It's possible, but I don't know how much the developer would be able to put into it, because the other thing about consoles is this magic thing called certification, which is very expensive. Just stopping a little bit too early, so I've got to pull ahead. Of course, the train's trying to roll backwards at the moment because that's what it wants to do. Train's not quite in the platform yet, so I have to keep accelerating a little bit. Not quite sure if I have to care about the milk van or not. That's an interesting question. Do I have to care about the milk van being in the platform? Because I think at the moment I'm in danger of my locomotive not being in the platform. Going to open the doors, guard? No, guard's not going to open the doors. So guard wants the whole train in the platform. Still holding against the releasing brakes at the moment, so it's not going to go very fast. Should probably pop up the other end. So when this whole van's in the platform, we'll be right. Alright, we're all in now. Let's see if he opens the doors. There we go. Guard's letting the passengers out. Now, in reality, with slam door stock, everybody would have just opened the doors and jumped out, because they're like that. But no. 5 minutes late! Oh no! I'm supposed to depart before now. Oh dear. That's okay. It's fine. Trains kits, etc. said vertical, horizontal, no slightly option. Well, you can have the slightly option, because, you know, if your phone's this way, you can always turn it this way. It still works. I think it's time to go. Very much time to go. We've heard our guard. Train's trying to accelerate. Can't. Brakes are still on. Can hear a little bit of wind now too, which is cool, as it's moving the purple thistles around. Brakes feel like they're coming off, so let's put a bit more power into it. Kuminati says trains coming to consoles, so unless they switch to Unity or Unreal recently, it's still doable for DRS. Oh look, it's always doable. You can bring your own engines to console, it's certainly possible. The challenge is that you have to do all the development to make it work on the console, because of course they're all different, whereas if you're running in one of the major engines, there's less coding work to do. There's not none, but there's less to make it work on the different platforms. And I think the biggest challenge is actually knowing if you'd get enough sales, because to certify a game to run on console, which basically they take it and they play it, and they check that it basically runs and it doesn't crash very often and that sort of thing. That costs about $20,000 per release, Australian dollars, because I know someone that's been through it on PlayStation. So it's an expensive pastime, releasing onto consoles. I just thought, I wonder if my unrealistic acceleration things are actually because I'm accelerating against the brakes and I'm not waiting long enough with the scoring. That's possible. We'll see. Yeah, the dev kits aren't cheap, and you need one for every version of the console, so let's, for argument's sake, say you were going to go to on PS4 and PS5, then you need both dev kits, and you might have to think about, do you need a PS Pro dev kit as well? The concept of PS Pro just amuses me, just on the sides, that there's professional consoles, but, you know. Our next stop is Warnbridge. Just start slowing down for that. Don't have to slow down too much because we never got up to a really high speed. We are going uphill, so we'll lose some speed to gravity anyway. Yeah, look, it's not quite true that you don't need a dev kit for PC, because generally to develop a game, you need a PC that's a lot more capable than the one you're targeting. Because if you're trying to run a game inside the debugger to have a best chance of working out problems and finding solutions to things, you need a much more powerful PC to be able to do that and still maintain any kind of decent frame rate. I know with Xbox, you can actually rent time on dev kits from Microsoft these days. You don't actually have to buy one anymore. They recommend that you do have one physical one to do some in-house testing with, but you can rent time on their cloud versions, which is kind of cool. I don't know if PlayStation do or don't do that. I've not really looked into it. Braked a bit too hard then. Actually, one of the other cool things about this game is it's got a variety in people sizes. There are children, there are tall people, there are short people, there are fat people, there are skinny people. I'm assuming I'll have to get this van into the platform again. I'll get better at this sometime. While I've played this a bit, I don't play it enough to be really proficient with it. And I'm still having to power because, of course, we're going uphill. And the signal at the front is green, fortunately, just in case I run through it, which I might. Trying to get the carriages into the platform, I might have to put the loco through the signal. Let's see if that's enough. Yep. So it just fit. That was lucky. The child-free dystopia, he says. Yeah, because if we have a look at just on this platform, can't move quickly anymore because I turned my stick sensitivity down too far. Oh, and the guard's ready to go, so we'd better get ready to go too. We'll just watch the window. Start releasing the brakes. Guard's blowing the whistle. Put some power on. Gates on the crossing are closed. Signal is at proceed. It's an interesting thing about signals. They are referred to as on or off and proceed or danger. They're not go and stop like traffic lights. Lovely detail in the signal box over there. Very, very nice. So nice that I think we're going to go and have a look at it while this train escapes. As we go through the train towards the signal box. Where is the signal box? It's up there. Oh, this is going to take forever. But that's okay. The train can look after itself for a little while. Because I'm curious, when I stick my head through the signal box wall, what am I going to see inside? Oops. My right stick is still super sensitive, and my left stick is now so insensitive that I can barely move. Oh, look, there's flowers growing in the signal box. How pretty. That's not bad. So that's probably been done from a photo, I imagine. For a real box. It's kind of cool. It is kind of what they look like. Let's just go back up the front and back in the cab. There's something else coming. Hop over this side super slowly and hopefully get to see what it is before we run out of movement. There we go. It's another Milky. So here's Milky's in the front. We accelerate on the path to excitement. Another free gratuitous bridge shot. Good to see. So I completely run out of tea. That's okay, as they say. Have to power off because my next station is coming. Got a fairly steep gradient on, so we should be starting to slow down anyway. Let's pop a bit of brake on. One of the things that's cool about this game, if you're a streamer, is when you're choosing from the timetable, there's one of the options for the filters is good for streaming, and some of the more interesting runs turn up in that filter. It's probably highly dependent on the route developer actually adding that flag to their timetable entries and being a good judge of it, but it's kind of cool. And you can choose quick things or things that'll take a while if you want to do that. You can choose from a particular train, so you can filter it that way. There's quite a lot of different filtering that you can do, so it's a nice feature. Now arriving at Willsworth. Oh, we're nearly in. Nearly made it in. Oh, no. No. Probably more help if I did that out here, wouldn't it? There's even glass in the lamps. It's kind of cool. Let's get the back of this carriage in. My siphon. Have a good sleep, Bricks at home. Thanks very much for joining in, and thanks very much for producing such an awesome bit of kit. Alright, that looks like it's in. Let's see if the door's open. Yes! Okay. This is one of the good examples of where the scenery has really come up a notch in the last scenery release. So it's much cooler now. Let's wait for our guard to give us the go. There we go. Heard the whistle. Windows closing. The window closing is an animation of the guard down the back going, you can go now, mate. Just because on the longer trains you can't hear the whistle. Just gentle away from here. So in trying to be good, I'm now 10 minutes late. I am very British Rail. As you should be. You know, if you're in the heritage period, you should drive in the heritage way and be completely late. Next station will be Bellbrook. Wheat field there. Some flowers. That must harvest well. Not. Well, we should have been at the next station a minute ago, so 5 minutes ago in fact, so surprisingly it will be late. I could screen through the next one and miss a station and start approaching getting back on time, but I don't think so. Keep going the way we are. I'm a little bit careful because the only indicator of my current speed is in the locomotive itself. So if you're out watching on a view like this, you don't actually know how fast you're going. You can turn it on so that you've got a HUD display for how fast you're moving. I'm slightly over the speed limit at the moment, I believe. You know, I want to watch. Got to do the gunsling. I found out today that rail fans in the UK are sometimes called veg. Going up by English standards, a steep gradient, 0.5%. By my standards, it's nothing. It's like a little ramp. Steepest gradient in our railway is 3.3. We've got one of those that's just over 2 miles long, and another one that's 6 miles long. And yes, it's funny in my railway that we talk in miles. It's okay. Six miles might not sound very long either, but as a fireman, when you're shoveling, and that's represented by probably about 18 to 20 minutes of real time, of pretty much non-stop. Rip open the door, chuck in a shovel, shut the door, rip open the door, chuck in a shovel, shut the door, rip open the door, chuck in a shovel, shut the door. And our fireboxes are so small that you can't keep the door open when you're firing, so if you're not going up one of the steeper hills, it's okay to open the door, put in 3 shovels and shut the door, as long as you're quick about it. But you try that in the big hills, your steam pressure goes, meow. All a bit fun. See, this looks almost Australian kind of territory. Almost. Kuminati says, everyone wants to be a fireman on a steam train until it comes time to doing the actual work. But there you go. Yes, it is a bit of a challenge. On the vertical feed, we have Mark Cortez, who says, novice from America, but you have a train question. Go for it, please, Mark. Jump in. Bellbrook Station. A hill affects your pressure quite a lot. So, as Kuminati's asked in the horizontal stream, our locomotives, their ideal pressure is 180 psi, which is the red line. In reality, they tend to blow off between 170 and 175 most of the time, so you're operating at a lower pressure than that because you're trying not to blow off. You need to produce enough that at least the steam you're consuming matches the steam you're producing. So if you're running on 150 psi, that's okay as long as it's staying there with the injector on. Because in our locomotives, the injectors are set up so that if you're running with 100 to 120 pounds in the steam chest uphill, the injector will keep up with it. So you'll keep your water up and you'll keep your steam production up. Quite an important combination. Mark says in the vertical chat, why doesn't my CSX consist move after doing all the proper process startup? Can't get the banking com to work. Always turn on banking com before you do anything else, because what banking com does, it pretends there's another driver in the lead set of locomotives down in the middle or at the back. And what it then does is it copies everything that you do as a driver to the back of the locomotive that's down the back. So because you need to set switches and things like that to make sure that your locomotive's set up correctly, you need to, oops, you just need to make sure, this is going to be a quick departure, so I'm going to start releasing the brakes now, because that red line's going really fast. Just hope I don't roll. I hope the brakes hold long enough that I don't start rolling backwards, because that'll lose me even more points. Might put a little bit of power on just to avoid that happening. There we go. Time to go. So if you've got a CSX, chances are you're talking about sandpatch grade in TSW. Or possibly HSC has got some CSX trains on it, I think, as well. But if you turn on banking comp first by pressing the push to talk button on the radio in your locomotive, then turn on your 3 switches, which are incorrectly off in your locomotive. So there's fuel pump, control, and gen field will be your 3 switches. Only gen field should be off in reality, but the game developers didn't know that at the time they built CSX. Then put your reverser in and put it to forwards. Then set up your brake. So put your MU valve onto lead. Then set your main train brake to be freight as the position. Release the train brake, release the independent brake, and if you start powering, that should work with the locomotives behind you. You can, if you're not sure if it's working or not, use the external camera to go and sit outside the window, and what you should see is that the locomotive down the back starts loading up. So you'll see on the power gauge that it'll start going into the green. If you're not seeing that, then that locomotive might actually be dead. There are a couple of services where the rear locomotives are dead and you've got to walk down there and start them. That's very uncommon. I think there's only 2 services like that in sandpatch grade. Hopefully, Mark, you've taken advantage of the Train Sim World 5 free starter pack, which will upgrade your Train Sim World 4 installation to Train Sim World 5 for nothing, including all the DLC. So it brings over all the DLC that you own. You don't get any new ones with it. So do take advantage of that. They've extended the free period till the end of the year. But I definitely suggest you do if you haven't done that yet. I think I've probably got a really old TSW2 tutorial for sandpatch grade, or you could have a look at one of my old live streams for sandpatch grade. Mark asked, does switching from long hood to short hood affect anything? No, it doesn't. That's just lights. Just tells the train how to run the lights. We are going downhill, so I'm going to start powering off now before I get anywhere near the speed limit. And we'll let gravity continue to pick us up, because this is actually a fairly steep gradient from English standards. We went up to 1.5% at one point there. If you're still not sure, Mark, I haven't done a run on sandpatch for ages, so I could always record a video of me setting up and starting a service. So if you've got a particular service that you're trying, put the service number and time into the chat, and I could make a video for that one. Now, gradient went very steep uphill for a moment there, and now it's going steep downhill again, so it's quite a variance. It's quite un-English, to be honest. And criminality, the other thing to think about how hills affect you in a steam locomotive, just thinking about it, when your boiler's horizontal like this, and your water level's like that, when your train starts going up a hill, your water level doesn't move. But what does happen is it's different in relation to the boiler and the firebox, so you need to consider that so that you are not revealing the critical part, which is the top of the firebox or the crown sheet, to direct heat. Because if you do that, your steam engine will go bang. Hey, you're welcome, Mark. If you have a look in my playlists, there's heaps of tutorials for all the versions of Train Sim World. The older tutorials are still just as valid today, although the actual ways of getting in and out of the game's a little bit different, but the way you drive is the same. So if I haven't actually got one for the particular loco you're trying to run, you can create one. I probably have got one on Banking.com. I'd be surprised if I didn't. It might not be for Sandpatch Grade. It might be another route, though. Welcome to Picote. And if we're in South America, it'd be Picote. Minutes late. Oh no, whatever will we do? We'll do this. Well, look at our train. Doors are gradually closing. Should let us go shortly. You can actually see each carriage release its brakes because we creep forward a little bit when that happens as we stretch the couplings out. That's what I mean about the simulation on this is really good from a physics perspective. The only other game that I know of that you'll actually see that happen is Run 8. There's a new game coming up called Century of Steam, which from its devlogs shows a lot of promise in the area of physics, but we shall see what it's really like when it comes out. It's also going to be the first game which has an actual firing simulation that is relatively realistic, so... Oh, a door open there. Must have been the Guard. So it'll be interesting to see if it is realistic when it comes out, so I'm quite looking forward to it. So. I think it's due out later this year too. I think it's slated for a... I do believe that signal just went red. It was green and it went red. No, we'll just take it easy and we shall be careful. The one I can see is it proceed. So we'll just keep rolling for the moment. We are picking up speed because we're going down a gradient. Trains, kits, etc. says Foxfield Railway is the best for gradients, throwing a little 040 up the bank and making it work hard. Yeah, there's a lot of fun ones. There's another little railway. It's just north of Melbourne. I'm trying to remember the name of it, but they use little rail tractors with a couple of homemade carriages, and its gradients are absolutely extreme. I'm not sure where this red signal is that I'm supposed to be able to see, because I can see that one and it's green, so I'm just going to release my brakes and we're just going to keep rolling until it changes, because the HUD will change at some point when it thinks I can see that signal, I think. There it goes. Just another note, Mark, if you prefer a horizontal format to the vertical format, there is a link earlier in the chat which will take you to the Kerrisdale. That's the one, trains, kits, etc. That is an awesome little railway. I've been up there a few times. I've got a little bit of video from there. Because it's a private property, the guy's not really that happy with you walking around along the line. So, he doesn't mind if you get out of the station and video around that area, but he's not that happy for you to just wander along the tracks. But it might depend how much you talk to him, so if you can get in his ear and make him trust you, then you never know what might happen. Yeah, between Yarra Glen and Yea, that's the one. It is Kerrisdale. And they use Malcolm Moore rail tractors. I think they've got 2 of them from memory. We've got a Malcolm Moore in the Puffing Billy Museum. It's quite a powerful little beast. We've got one that's restored. We've got one that's more or less intact and needs to be restored. And we've got one that's in pieces. Roll downhill here. I do have a 40 curve coming, so I'm just keeping an eye on the speed. I'm assuming it's a curve anyway, because there's nothing else around it. Get a little brake, just to keep us under the 40. Yeah, I think he was building that steam engine last time I was there, which was quite a while ago. It was pre-COVID last time I was there. So, I don't know how he's gotten on with it. He could probably get himself a little 040, but and the gradients on that thing with a small boiler, I'd be concerned about being able to manage your water. Because the gradients are really steep on that. It's the kind of thing you might want a fairly specialised locomotive for, something geared perhaps. Roll down to Pavins Park, or Levines Park, or something. Yeah, thanks for subscribing, Mark Cortez. Sorry I didn't reply earlier than that, but yeah, questions are welcome. If you've got any questions on any of my tutorials or any of the other videos you see, just pop them in the comments for the video, and I do get back to them. I try and get back to them within a day or so. Depends how many I'm getting. Around new release time, I tend to be getting so many questions. I tend to be running a little bit behind because I do have other things to do as well. There's also my Discord, so if you pop into that, you can get help there too. And there's that help in there will often come from other players who are also in the Discord. There's some really, really good people in there. Just roll the rest of the way into Pavins Park because we're so late it just doesn't matter. Might even need to put some power on because we're getting into the steepish spot. Now I'll keep the power on for a moment because even though we've gone into a more level space, the back of the train will be going up that hill still. Trains, Kits, etc. says it was going to be a mounted railway job with a boiler at an angle, allegedly. Yeah, I suppose you could do that. a significant piece of engineering, and getting it certified would be a little bit of a challenge, I suspect. And I can't imagine he wouldn't want to get it certified, because he would struggle to get insurance if he wasn't certified. He operates officially as a tramway, which is how he's actually able to operate at all. So he doesn't operate as a railway. Otherwise he'd have all sorts of horrible compliance things to do. Train skits, etc. says pre-COVID there was a very elderly guy in Hillsville with a steamroller and a bunch of big miniature locos hidden on his place. I got talking to him and he gave me the tour. Oh, that's cool. There's quite a few little railways around. I know of one near Selby. I know another one out near Pakenham. I know one near Gembrook. I don't reveal where they are because their owners don't really like visitors terribly much. And that's their privilege. Now we are on the level, so I should be able to release the brakes so we can get going a bit quicker. Shouldn't move. Actually, I know of two in Upper Beak as well. And interestingly, in the Upper Beak ones, I found the second one because I went to where I thought was the address for the one I was going to, and it turned out I had the wrong property. But the guy showed me around anyway. And he didn't know that one of his neighbours on the same street had a railway. Well, they're probably about 1 kilometre apart, so they wouldn't hear each other. But, no, he was quite amused to know that there was someone nearby that had one. There's quite a lot of garden railways around too. At Sweet Pea Corner on Puffing Billy, there's a garden railway in one of those houses. There's another one up towards Menzies Creek. There's another one at the bottom of the Emerald Bank. A fella I know has just moved into that area, and he had a steam-operated garden railway at home, so I imagine that will move. Won't stay at his old place. It's safe to accelerate now that we know the colour of the signal. See quite a few people have just joined the vertical stream. Welcome along. If you've got any questions or comments, chuck them in the chat. Of course you don't have to, but you're absolutely welcome to. If a horizontal stream is more to your liking, if you scroll back in the chat, there is a link to this same stream in a horizontal format. Don't want to come completely off the bow. Ooh, yes I do, because we've got a station stop coming up. Pertenham. This is quite undulating, this landscape too. Taking maximum advantage of the vacuum braking. I was quite interested to see how the drivers use vacuum braking when I was on my UK trip. I did have quite a few cab rides, and I was amazed. They just on and off the vacuum brake constantly. And I got to admit, it works. It works well. Hello, people of Pertenham. I could do that, trains, kits, etc. I actually have got a 360 camera, so we could do a real 360 one. I don't think I'd really want to do that in the house, though. There's a reason I blur my background. I don't really want people knowing where I live. And we are on the level, so let's just release the brakes. I think we're going to be out of here pretty quick. Next stop is Rickeridge. Then looks like we go semi-express from there. Signal is not at proceed, so I can go through this one, it's fine, but it does mean I need to start slowing down for the next one. See this signal. Not as yet. I think it's right just at the end of the hill there. See two semaphores on the right hand track. Just keep rolling towards it now until I can actually see it. suppose it's possible the ones on the right-hand track do apply to me. Actually, it's round a curve, so they might be on my track. Yes, they are round a curve. They are on my track. Very good. And have in fact just gone green. So that would tell me we're changing tracks. So we're going to go onto another line. We'll keep the speed down. I can also see there's a 25 mile an hour speed limit there. There's two of them, so we're probably going through several sets of points. And that looks like a relatively good guess to me. To a viaduct. Ah, it's one of those stacked viaducts. They're always cool. I saw one of these in the UK and I thought it was a rail bridge, but it turned out to be a canal. So we have got to proceed on this one, but it's a different aspect, so it's pointing upwards rather than pointing downwards, so it's a different kind of semaphore. As we climb this gradient into Rickeridge. And we were meant to be there 16 minutes ago, which means we're doing fabulously well. Perfect. Excellent. No problem there at all. Oh, so we've got a tunnel coming up. There are still some graphical artifacts in this game. I've seen a few places where the tiles don't join properly, and I can see a spot there where the tunnel graphic doesn't quite work. Yes, British headlights of the 1950s. It's basically there's a candle up the front of the train. Someone else here waiting patiently for us to come in, going, where is that bastard? This little rail car here. Oh, and there's another train behind them. Spectacular. So I'm guessing there's a red signal there for that rail car, which will probably change shortly. And there's another train stuck there. So I'm holding up two trains. Do you know that makes me happy? That's okay. Welcome to Rickeridge Station. I should think about stopping, shouldn't I? Really? Probably anywhere along here will do. Definitely on the platform at the back, so this is fine. And doors open. It does look like it'll wait a little while here. So the railcars... So there might be another train coming behind me then, because the railcar's still sitting down there. There's our Guard blowing a whistle to go, so we should. But lots of people come and go on the vertical stream today. I'm not sure if it's something I'll maintain going forwards. There's been a little bit of chat with people. The majority of the people who have popped into the vertical stream have actually then reappeared in the horizontal stream. But I don't know if that's people that are completely new to my channel, have just discovered me and then popped over because the other one's more interesting to them because they were flicking through the shorts feed or something. Or whether it's regular viewers who have accidentally picked up the vertical and then swapped to the horizontal. So it's an interesting question. I mean, I don't know the answer to it. Picturesque tree, isn't it? Ruin pine. Just looking at the tree. There we go. Brizzy boy, hello to you. How are you? Welcome to the stream. We're playing Diesel Railcar Simulator. We're running a Class 35 Hymec. Both the Class 35 and the route that we are running on are community creations. How is Brisbane today? I'm guessing that's where you're from based on your name. Probably a little warmer than here. From the UK. Cool. Now we have the go. Put the boot back in for this gradient, and we're not stopping at this station or the next one. It's quite a cool machine. I think that the creator who was in the chat earlier is quite talented. Done very well. Physics are great. Sounds great. The services are good. There are some 52 Westerns in this game, Brizzy boy. If the horizontal people are wondering who I'm talking to, it's a person in the vertical. This train is not for you, folks. I'd apologise, but it's more fun just screaming through. As we roll along. keeping an eye on my speed because we are going downhill. If you scroll back, Prissy Boy, you can either visit my channel and find it, or if you scroll back, there's a link to the horizontal one. In fact, I can always get one now. Just pasting a link into the chat now for the horizontal stream for anybody that accidentally comes to the vertical one. Ah, thank you, Brizzy Boy. Very kind of you. Still cruising along to Nut'em. What do you do to someone you don't like? You nut them. Seems fair to me. Bridge over someone's pond. We're not supposed to stop at Nut'em, so we'll go straight on through. As we dive from asphyxiation in the clouds of Greta Thunbergs coming out of the locomotive. This is probably a 5 Thunberg locomotive. It's emitting 5 Gretas per minute. She'll find out about my streams one day. Get on and yell at me, I'm sure. We'll also be passing the next station, which is Reston. We're getting a little closer to time now. We're only 20 minutes late now. We were 23 minutes late before. We're getting better. We're only holding up most of the railway. It's fine. What could go wrong? Nothing. Perfectly okay. Just realised it's lunchtime. Oh well, we're going to finish this run anyway. And that'll be it for today. I think it's got a little while to go though. Oops. Oops. Being naughty. Hello, I will eat you. So just slow back down below 60. Lost a few points there. I will eat you wants the Hawker Siddeley HS4000 Kestrel diesel. I don't think they made many of those, did they? They were the diesels with aircraft engines, weren't they? If I remember rightly, maybe. I could be remembering totally wrong. Should get a distant signal for these. No, we're all good. Back on the juice we go. We have the green. Only one Kestrel. Am I right in thinking they were an aircraft engine or a helicopter engine or something weird like that? Like a jet turbine, I think. For some reason I think that when I think of the Kestrel. Trains, kits, etc. says the transmission is hydraulics. Add an extra Greta for the oil in there. Ah, yes. Additional Gretas. Good to see. I did burn in my steam engine yesterday, which is fired by oil. 951 litres of Gretas. It's a pretty big day. It's actually interesting how different differently the engine goes on different days, because I've done the Gembrook in that thing and only used 750, and then yesterday I used 200 litres more for no readily apparent reason. The train was about the same weight. Because last time I went up the hill it was 10 cars, but it was an empty train. It was just done for training a driver. And this time round it was a loaded train, but it was 8 cars. So it should have been about the same weight, about 80 tonnes. Rizzy Boy says it didn't make much of a name for itself here, it ended up in Russia. Oh, that's an interesting place. I think I will eat you for the weird, more esoteric things where there's only one, like the APT. I would imagine the only way that would happen would be as a mod, or as a very small developer, perhaps. I can't imagine DTG doing it. The only real one-off they've done is Scotty. And they only did that because they knew Scotty would sell well. We're on the green, so we can keep on powering, even though we're going downhill. We are going to pass through Sheep Langley and Astrup, which is the one afterwards. We're still 20 minutes late at the moment. Probably still be 20 minutes late when we get to Sheep Langley, maybe 21. I wouldn't be surprised if we do see some more UK freight locomotives at some point. They'll need to be a fairly esoteric one that there's a lot of. So we'll see. There are other things that could come from smaller developers though. So people like Just Trains, Armstrong. Sorry, not Armstrong. They're not in there. Alan Thompson, that's the one I'm thinking of. So those smaller developers might bring smaller run machines or things that aren't used widely across the network, because DTG's aim is to make assets that they can reuse on other routes. That's why they've got the 66 and it's everywhere. Because in real life, the 66 is in fact everywhere. There's a few of the BR Blue era freight locomotives available, but nothing much more modern than that. I can imagine at some point we might get a more modern variant of the 66, because they are getting rebuilt currently, I believe, into a different class of machine. Here's another Railcar rocketing along, pumping out the Gretas, and we've got the green, so back on the juice. I think there is a Class 20, isn't there? Trains, kits, etc. I'm sure there is. For TSW. It's a DLC by itself, I think. And I think it runs on West Somerset and maybe Transpennine. And I think on Spirit of Steam there might be some Class 20s as well. The crew. That's one I'd like to see remastered because the route's ugly. Astrup is the next station that we are ignoring. We come rolling through. Still on the green. We'll be going to Charlie, which is 5 minutes after Astrup, so we'll be a little while. it's only a matter of time before I Will Eat You starts talking about things that aren't trains. It might be the 88 that I'm thinking of, I Will Eat You. Is the 88 what the 66s are turning into when they get rebuilt? Brizzy Boy is a train spotter in the UK and has seen mostly everything, been to quite a few places. Yeah, I did a circle of the UK through England and Wales anyway. In May and June, I did 17 heritage railways. I did almost all my travel by train. Did a little bit of bus. British Ace convinced me to get on buses, and in fact, this was a British Ace thing, the bus mug. And I did use one bus in place of a train, so after I rode on North Yorkshire Moors, I went back to York, where I was staying at that time, and I was looking at the train that I was going to catch. I had to get a bus down from Pickering down to another place where I was picking up a train from, and there were some delays on that train line. I thought I could just stay on the bus, so I just stayed on the bus and went to York on the bus. I didn't get to Severn Valley. It was one of the ones I didn't get to. I was interested, and there was a couple of other lines that I wanted to go and see, but there was just not enough days to get it all done. Because I had to mix, while I was there, I had mixed in another event where I was catching up with some friends. And that ate 4 days. But even there I found a way to squeeze in a railway, because I wasn't planning on going to the one at Manchester. And jumped on a tram and went up to that railway and rode that one. It turned out to be a really good railway, actually. I was very happy that I just on the last minute I thought I'm going to go and visit this, so I did, and it was cool. It turned out to be a great railway. But Severn Valley is another one that I'd like to see. There's a couple more in Wales I want to get to at some point in my life. There's some heritage rail in Scotland that would be good to see. I'm going to start braking for Charlie because we are getting there. North Yorkshire Moors was excellent. If you're ever in that area, I certainly encourage you to visit it. And if you're a rail fan, at Grossmont, where the engine sheds and their workshops are, definitely take the opportunity to get off the train there, and you have to anyway because you change sets before you go out in the main line, and go and have a look. And there's if you work on a railway, a heritage railway, they've got a shop there where they've got firemen and drivers clothing, shovels, all sorts of stuff that's hard to come by. And if you tell them that you're working on a heritage railway, they'll give you their volunteer prices, which is really cool. Yeah, East Lancs, it runs from Bury. So I went to that one. I did go to the Transit Museum in Bury too, or Transport Museum, which is also quite good. It's a small one. That's where some of the things that used to be at the York Museum have gone to. There you go, you've got a perfect excuse, Brizzy Boy. Go visit your friend at Grossmont Workshops. Yeah, I definitely encourage it, Brizzy Boy. Hello, John. Welcome. So I operate in a heritage railway here. I operate on a Puffing Billy railway where I am a fireman. Get to drive from time to time as well, which is cool. in case you hadn't noticed, I overbraked a little and am now powering into a station. Great. It's one of these moments. A little bit of a face palm. Glance down the main street as we go through. Wave a load of the signalman up there. Yeah, Beamish was another one on my secondary list. I spent a lot of time on railways in Wales. So I spent 2 days at Tallaght, for example, because on one of the days I was firing, and I guess this railcar over here is waiting for us. I spent one of the days firing on Tallaght, and the next day I went back and just rode as a passenger, because it just seemed like a fun thing to do. 21 minutes late, yay! Best ever! Where's my platform? There it is. Looks like this is a longer stop too. And then I spent, I think, a total of 4 days over at Porthmadog, riding the railways there, which were cool. See you later, Kuminati. I Will Eat You says that the San Bernardino MP36 is way cooler than the Caltrain one. Well, I would hope so, because there's been quite a few years of development between the two. It's time to go! Bit of a shame we don't have drivers in the cabs yet. But in this game they do concentrate on the quality of the train simulation as distinct from ancillary things like passengers, which I appreciate. On the dark side for a little while. Oops. Hope you're good, John. Glad you're enjoying it. Brizzy Boy says it's cool you visited here and been around visiting and bashing the trains. Must be such a cool perspective into it. Look, it does. It's quite different. So when West Coast Main Line came out, for example, I actually recognised parts of it because I've ridden on it. So that was good to see. Good bit of fun. Let's bring in my speed back down below 60. There we go. A little bit more. And waiting to see the advanced starter for this next one coming up. We're going through Haston North. We've got the green, so we'll stay on the roll. I Will Eat You has created a Go Transit livery on the San Bernardino. Painted the MBTA F40PH in Go Transit. Well, why not? Have fun with it, mate. That's what floats your boat. Have fun with it. Aiden's popped back into the vertical chat and says, it's been a bit, been doing some TSW5 stuff. How's it been going? Well, we're going fairly well. Not too much longer to go in this run. I did start an hour late today, so I was actually live on someone else's stream. So I had to delay my start a little bit. Train skits etc. says, funny story, last time I was in Porthmadog was for a music event over a weekend and some drunken Welshman took a pee on his tent. He probably thought you were English. I did notice that about the Welsh, as they like annoying the English. Coast our way down this hill because we've got a 50 at the bottom anyway. Join the Discord, that's cool, Brizzy boy. Aiden in the vertical chat says 2:30 for me now, Christ. I'll probably pop on TSW5 and do a couple of Houston, Milton Keynes runs. Just need to sort out one of the sound modes out and I'll be good to go. There are some quite good mods out there. I generally speaking don't stream with mods on Train Sim World just because I am an ambassador and I want to show off what it's really like so people get a good expectation, but I do sometimes. I definitely play with them because it's it can make quite a difference sometimes. It's like the Pendolino sounds, I actually find them to be okay. But yeah, there's a sound mod out there that makes them sound much better. So, cool to see, cool to have. There's simple things like in this game, the big variety of trees. And there's live ones and dead ones and there's all different kinds. It's just good to have. For a nice change, I'm doing the right speed through the 50 mile an hour curve. On our way to our next station stop, which is Nustbury, where we were due about 9 minutes ago. More, actually. One of the few trains I didn't get to ride on. I did walk into one and look around, but I didn't get to ride on a 150. I just couldn't quite manage it in my timetabling. I was actually a little bit sad because when I got the train to Manchester and I booked on Transport for Wales and it was a fairly expensive ticket, so I didn't want to just bail on it. I discovered that there was actually a Northern Trains 150 that was going from the same station I was at to Manchester. Might have been Shrewsbury, I think, from memory. Not 100% sure on that one, but it might have been. So I actually could have ridden a 150, but what I did do was I wandered up the platform and I talked to its guard, and they said it's not going for 3 or 4 minutes, and I said, could I dump my bags here next to you and go have a look in the train? And they went, well, okay, it's weird, but sure. So the lady looked after my bags while I wandered through her train, to her amusement. So I did get to hear one stationary. I got to hear it depart, because it went before my train. And judging by the speed we were going on my Transport for Wales train, we were following it, because it wasn't quick. And usually the Transport for Wales services were really quite fast. So this is why I have the gradient thing turned on, because it actually looked like I was going downhill, and I glanced down to the bottom left-hand corner and I could see the gradient was +1. And I thought, yeah, okay, that's why I'm slowing down. Next stop is Nastbury, and we have some fairly nasty curves coming up, and maybe a track change, judging by that 20. Yeah, there's quite a few operators still run 150s. So maybe on a future trip, maybe I'll concentrate on 150s and ride nothing else. That could be fun. Not. Just letting my speed come down for these upcoming 20 curves, or what I'm assuming is curves if they're not track changes. Hello, little rail car with no driver. And another pond. Always good to have a random pond. Aidan would like to see some class 155s or 156s coming into Train Sim World, perhaps on the Midland Main Line. So that could be a possibility. Brizzy Boy says TFW are starting to withdraw their 150s, unfortunately. GWRs will go soon, but I think Northerns will be about much longer. I saw Northern as a bit more of a budget sort of train offering. But I booked all my tickets, or nearly all my tickets, through Trainline, and it didn't really offer Northern anywhere where there was a Northern train, even though Northern were often cheaper when I looked at them later. Was a bit weird. We're in the very slow section now, and it's a 2.1 gradient, so I'll start putting some juice into it. Let's start throwing some Greta's out the top. Cool little bridge and another very tight corner. It's interesting in the change in angle of the roadbed as you go over the bridge. It's quite steep coming up to it, and then you go over the top. Thought I was getting a bit slow, but I was enjoying the bridge, to be honest. Yeah, TFW is starting to withdraw their 150s, went through that bit. Aidan in the other chat said Northern went bankrupt after Arriva took over and it's now under government control and can't afford any more due trains. Yeah, I'm actually wondering how long private operation's going to go in the UK. It seems to be getting a little on the nose with people. So it looks like there's a bit more government control coming, perhaps. Got the green here, coming back onto this different main line by the looks of it. And a following green. Train skits. Did I manage to get to Bristol? No, I didn't get up to Bristol, sadly. Train skits, etc. said you could see how many times you could do the 5 circle in a day. I could. I didn't get to Scotland, so on a future trip I hope to make that happen. I have relatives in Scotland, so I maybe didn't want to see them. Maybe. Did I say that on the internet? No, I didn't say that. Wouldn't say that at all. No. What a terrible thing to say. Rizzy Boy said Northern have a lot of rolling stock and a lot of it is the older BR stuff. And we've got some private operators who have a lot of older freight locomotives too, stuff from the 50s that they're still running. They certainly blow out the Gretas. Violet is back. Welcome back. How did your shopping go? I will eat you will be glad to see the multi-levels in the Worcester line, aren't just the ones from NEC. I was just thinking I have to slow down, but I don't. I actually have to speed up. And we have a signal against, so I need to start slowing down, or I will lose a bucket load of points. So we'll get that happening. I mean, these may go green on us, but they are still red. I think it might have gone green, actually. I can see a little spot of green up there, so I think it has gone green. We'll keep our speed down, just to avoid losing too many points. Aiden's sorted the mods. Going out to Prayer 710 doesn't fling while you enter Euston again. Now, there's a couple of spots in Euston that are a bit weird. So I actually think the signal is green, so I'm just going to keep going. I think that's from my track. In fact, they're both green, so it doesn't matter whether it's from my track or not. So I'll just keep rolling towards this signal that the game thinks is red, because it doesn't think I can see it yet. Trains, kits, etc. says you can see the last steam locos in a scrapyard in Kirkcaldy. That would be cool, actually. As we come rolling into Nastbury. Brizzy Boy says the government are going to nationalise the railway. Apparently they're starting off with C2C, but I don't think they'll be able to afford doing the whole plan. Well, we'll see what happens. Ours, they privatised the operations and leased out a lot of the stock, but they did not privatise the track. They were going to, and there was a change of government, and it didn't happen. So the Australian version of your Tories were hell-bent on privatising everything, and they didn't get to privatise the track, and they didn't get to privatise water. Which is fortunate, because look at the hell the UK's going through at the moment with water and sewer companies that just don't really give a shit about anything. All they care about is cash. Ah, it's another one. 21 minutes late. Now apparently it's going to let me out of the station first, even though this guy next to us is a faster train with 2 engines, probably an express, and is going to be sad because he's going to be stuck behind me. And that's okay. So just we ended up in another train. Looks like the last doors are closing. I wonder if that guy's got his doors shut yet. Because we've got the gong, so we've got the green and we're off to go. Benjamin's brain in a jar says, what's said on the internet stays on the internet. Yep, does. No one ever gets to see it. It's all good. Michael's still awake. Well, we're going through Nustbury, Michael. That's almost Newbury. Well, there you go. So we roll on through here and get back onto the line in front of what looked remarkably like an express that will now be just sad. But that's okay. There's nothing quite like making an express sad. Next two stations we don't stop at anyway, called Cockwell. No, called Dockwell. Called Dockwell. Yes, not Cockwell, Dockwell. Is your Cockwell? And then we've got Ashwell Rington. If you wanted to catch a little bit more of me later today, later my day, but tomorrow in the UK in the morning, I'll be live again on Train Sim World chatting with Matt Peddleston. We haven't figured out what we're talking about yet, and Matt's now asleep, so I won't get an opportunity to talk to him before the stream, so we'll just make it up as we go along. That's what we did last time we chatted. It's all good. Just totally made it up as we went along. And it was fine. Alright, let's get going. Get it up to 70. Aiden says I had a green signal coming into Euston, and then a 710 started departing, hit me and flung into a 390, failing the scenario. Well, that's impressive. If you can record things like that, Aiden, and pop them up on YouTube or somewhere, and give me a link on my Discord, I can pass those back in via the Ambassador channel, or I can log a bug on the beta and see about getting things like that addressed. You won't hear a lot about upcoming things on Matt's charity stream, because they tend to keep those things to themselves. Just Trains do, however, have a development blog. I assume you've been looking at that. Because that's well worth a look. There's quite a bit of detail there about what's coming. There's nothing quite like a train going space shuttle, Aiden, from the vertical chat. It happens. One of the cool things you can do is, after you run through a red signal, as you go through the signal, immediately escape out to the menu, save the game, go back into the game, let it fail from the red, and then from the main menu, restore the last save point. And guess what? You're after the red signal and you're about to crash into another train, usually, and that's always amusing. Through to 50s, so let's speed back up for Call Dockwell. Yeah, privatising water is a crazy thing to do. Water and sewer. You shouldn't take the services that are absolutely essential to life and fully privatise them. It's crazy. It's just greed. All it is. Trains, kits, etc. said Thomas Muir's scrapyard. The owners turned our most offers to sell them. Only have a few left. Recently, a Grant Ritchie 040 and a Barclay 060 were the last two to leave. Fly through Call Dockwell. We're maintaining our 21 late, so, you know, we're doing okay now. Doing fine. Perfectly good. Great. Nothing wrong here. You're going to head to bed at 4:30 in the UK. That seems fair, eh? Nice work. So I just remembered I have to stay under 70. I'm going over 70 because I'm naughty. I was doing so well for points too, and I've got to get down below 40, and I have some potential reds coming up. I do have a green though now, but I've still got a 40 that I have to slow down for. Michael's still awake, good to see. If you like some improv tours wandering around Melbourne, visit Violet's Inspiration Soup channel. Been getting very active lately, great to see. I haven't been able to join all of Violet's live streams because they're often while I'm at work. And that kind of means I have to work. Say hello to the signalman, as you do. We roll past yet another pond. This one's just a little green. It's perfectly good to have variable timing, Violet. It helps you pick up a bigger audience. Variable timing is a good thing to have. Back of our train should be past that signpost. I believe it is, so it should be fine. We can pick back up again now. We're not stopping at Ashwell Rington, and then we're going to New Mims. Got the green, so we'll keep on accelerating. I will eat you's made his own Flix train. You don't have the DLC. Well, that's fair enough. You can make it in Formation Designer and paint it however you like. I've actually forgotten where this train finishes at, but we'll keep going. Hello, people of Ashwell Rington. Goodbye, people of Ashwell Rington. Especially you. Aiden in the vertical chat believes he's mastered stopping the 158s, 170s, 350s, 385s, 390s and the 465s, getting used to the brakes. Yeah, some of those are more prototypical than others. Mostly decent. got the green on the distant, just bringing the speed down for the 60 that's coming up. And there's my answer to where does this service stop. We've got New Mims and Haverfordwest to go, so we shall continue on. And that'll be the end of the stream for today after that. But remember, I will be back, I think... I can't remember exactly what time it is my time, but keep an eye on the Train Sim World channel. It'll be sometime early in Matt's morning, but I've got to talk to him and make arrangements and sort it out. And we'll be good to go. So he'll be driving in this one, and I'll just chat with him as we go. Stayed red on this one, so we better start slowing down for these upcoming signals. That's a good idea, Violet. I'll do that. Just share when it is on the community tab. No, release, 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 release. Keep releasing, more releasing. I was pushing the wrong button, going, why is it not releasing? And I was applying them harder and harder and harder. That's alright. At least we've slowed down, just more than I wanted to. Does indeed, Violet. Every person that turns up in a stream signals to YouTube that people are interested in the stream and that it should push it to more people. I remember when I first started out and I was having, if I was lucky, 2 people watching. And it started to pick up. I mean, right now I usually sit around anywhere from about high teens to up to the... I've even gotten over 100 a few times. So, but mostly in around 30s, 40s, that sort of thing. Where is this signal? There it is. Still red. It's very red. I'll just keep crawling towards it for the moment. We've got the green. Let's go. Signalman spotted us and went, yeah, better let them in. Still got another red one prior to New Mims though, so just got to keep an eye on that. Aiden in the vertical chat says the 377s are a pain to master as it throws your sensors off because of how powerful the brakes are. Tips suggest entering platforms at 30 mile an hour, but you can come to a perfect stop going 60. Yeah, indeed, it's quite different for the different trains. Big junction here. I think I can actually see our next signal's green. It is. So let's put on a bit more juice. It's a bit like the Liverpool area where the railway's really high and the houses are really low. See, the HUD in this game doesn't update the signals until it thinks you can actually see the signal, but because you can zoom in, I can already see that this one's green. see Faithful Nightbot working in both streams. It's rolling into the platform here at New Mims. This is a good speed. That'll be it for this stop. 23 minutes late. Ooh. It's going to be a quick station stop though, by the look of it. Coming up towards Haverfordwest, which is the final stop for this run and for this stream. So next week I will be back. What's the date? Next week might be either some random stuff in Train Sim World, and I might just throw a giant mini-sided dice to decide what I'm going to do, or we'll do a day in Railroader with the new mods, because the experimental has settled down again, the mods work again, which is good. So we'll see how that goes, and we'll see which one's holding up as to which one I schedule. If there's anything in particular you'd like to see, let me know in Discord, in the stream requests section, because that's where this one came from. I didn't have anything particular in mind, and I'm just planning on doing some random Train Sim World stuff, following the dice. But, this is still red. No, it's not red. No, it's not red. It's okay. There is a green one up there. It's all good. We're heading off to the right by the looks of it. Just do a little bit of slowing down, because we've got a 10 to go through those points up here. There we go. Down to 10. In fact, why don't we pop out and just have another go at watching suspension go through points? Why wouldn't we? Doesn't do as much at low speed. So it's actually something that I think TSW's got wrong, and that this has gotten right. So you see how the suspension doesn't do very much when you're going slow, and it does a lot when you're going fast. In TSW, it's the other way around. And my gut feel is that's wrong. Because I know in the times when I've slung cameras underneath locos, which I do occasionally, I stick GoPros underneath locos, I reckon the suspension is so stiff that it does almost nothing at low speed. It's only when it's getting whacked at high speed that it really actually does anything. So, I have passed that feedback along. So we'll see if anything ever comes of it. I don't know if it will or won't. I have a channel where I can make my views at dovetail, but that doesn't mean that my views are seen as valid. Sometimes they are. There have been changes made because I kept jumping up and down about it. Making Raildriver more consistent was one of the things I kept jumping up and down about. As we crawl our way into our last stop. Just wake up the people in the apartment there. Seems fair. Not that they should be asleep at 10:35 in the morning anyway, unless they're on night shift. This poor bugger next to us has been waiting for us because he's starting to leave now. See, he's going past my windows quicker and quicker. And the game reckons I accelerate too fast. Look at this guy, he's lit a rocket under it. And these people must either be waiting for where this service is going to go after this, or they're, which they'll be sad because there's no engine on the back, so they have to do that first. Or they're waiting for people on the train, which is possible. Look, Mr. Hawaiian shirt in a pink shirt in the 50s. I don't think so. Aiden in the vertical chat says, this game makes me think of TSW graphics, but taken in TSC style without the whole free roaming aspect. Yeah, it is kinda. And it is, it's more of a drawn style, definitely. But it's come along in leaps and bounds. When this game first started, it looked like Microsoft Train Simulator. And now it's starting to approach the detail level of TSW, but it hasn't got the... So TSWs are starting to approach photorealistic. Not there yet, but it's starting to. And this is starting to approach where TSW used to be. So, yeah. Cool stuff. In a moment we shall see my score, and we shall see how hideous it is, or is not. Kind of behaved myself this time, so hopefully the score's a bit better. There we go, stop there, and we'll have a look. So there's a little bit of speeding there where my white line's gone over the top of the red line, but not a lot. Yeah, a little bit quick on a couple of occasions, so let's see what the score says. So these ones, if you weren't here before when I explained it, the tutorial penalties, so they're the mini HUD things that I've got turned on, are doing that. Showing the route minimap, yes. Repeating signals in the minimap, yes. We know about those. Speed limit exceeded 17 times, and that's the way it counts it. So in each minute that you're over, maybe 2 seconds actually, it records that you've stayed over. Max comfortable acceleration, I didn't, so that was better, much better than the last run. What we got? Passenger comfort exceeded once. Cumulative minutes late, 357. So that's all the stations added up. Energy use was okay. And where is my actual score? Oh, my actual score's 0. Look at that. 0. At least it's not negative. 0. Excellent. Excellent. Good stuff. Anyway, it's been good getting into this game again, and thank you to Grumpy Englishman who lives in South Africa, ironically, for the suggestion. And sadly, he's not actually been here to watch today, which he normally is, so hopefully he's okay. Just busy at something. But he'll get to watch it later anyway, when it's comes up on the VOD. I wonder if there'll be a vertical VOD. I didn't think of that. I should turn off the VOD for the vertical stream, because I don't really want it. But anyway, that's all good. So have fun, folks. I will see people later tonight, my time, tomorrow morning UK time, on the Train Sim World stream with Matt Peddleston for the Special Effect charity, who create controllers and the ability to play for people with drop-down physical abilities. And I will be back next week with something. Could be TSW, could be Railroader, could be something. We'll see. Could even be a truck. Haven't done a truck for a while. Might do a truck. We'll see. We'll have fun. We'll see what it is. Hello, Lexic Dark. Greetings to you. Alright, folks. Enjoy yourselves. And I will also fix the vertical stream so the cat turns up, because that's important. Very important. Must have the cat. Alright. Enjoy. Now let's see what happens. How do I make this work across 2 streams at the same time? Let's try. Ah! It worked! And my mic's still on, of course, but that's okay. Because now I've got to figure out how to stop 2 streams. Not quite sure if that works. Anyway, see you next week, folks. Bye now.